Former Nebraska Congressman Jeff Fortenberry heads back to court. The charges are the same as before when a jury in California convicted him of lying to the FBI. It had to do with $30,000 in campaign contributions from a foreign billionaire. The appeals court tossed the conviction, saying he should have been tried where the alleged crimes happened, either in Nebraska or Washington, D.C. The government filed new charges earlier this month in D.C. It's expected Fortenberry will appear for the arraignment via video conference. The federal court recently returned more than $25,000 to him, which was the fine he paid as part of the original sentence of probation.
The former